One of the chief ingredients of floriculture, or for that matter any agriculture, is the soil. Trodden under feet, used, misused and abused, very often soil does not get its due credit. But it is soil that sustains life on earth, directly and indirectly. In this program, we shall study soil and its characteristics, because it is only by understanding soil that we will be able to grow plants efficiently and successfully. What is soil? Just as human beings have a skin on their bodies, the earth has a covering that we call soil. But unlike the human skin, the soil is responsible for life on earth. Remove the soil, and our earth will not be a friendly place to be. Soil is the biologically active porous medium that has developed in the uppermost surface of the earth. It is the storehouse of water and nutrients for life on earth. It acts as a medium to filter and break down many injurious wastes, and as a participant in the cycling of carbon and other elements through the global ecosystem. Material from which the soil is formed consists of, among other things, rocks, river alluvium, lake sediments, volcanic ash, and organic matter. Over a period of time, due to the activities of water and wind, these parent material become soil. This is called weathering. This weathering process is also driven by biologic, climatic, geologic, and topographic influences. For example, the soil on the slopes will be different from soils on level grounds. This is because of erosion. When it rains heavy like this, the soil on the slopes of these hills will tend to get washed down unless there is vegetation to prevent it. This is called soil erosion. One of the greatest ecological tragedies of our time is soil erosion. Soil erosion and deposition are two geologic processes that give shape to a given piece of land. If there is a balance between the rate of erosion and the rate of deposition, that land mass remains constant. But very often, largely due to human intervention, this balance is disrupted. Erosion becomes more than deposition. This river water is muddy because it contains soil eroded from the hills. It has eroded because there is no vegetation to hold it back. Soil has eroded so much that rocks are exposed now. Since agriculture is not possible in such terrain, people have returned to rocks to make a living. Making stone chips has become an industry now. This is Cherrapunji, a place that boasted of being the wettest place on earth. It is no more. Instead, people have to walk for miles for water. This is because of the barbaric denudation of the area, resulting in the lack of rainfall. can be considered the main soil factories. These factories produce a variety of soils depending on geologic and climatic variation. But in spite of such variations, soils have a unique structural characteristic that serves as a basis of their classification. It is called the horizon. It is a vertical sequence of layers produced by the combined actions of percolating waters and living organisms. This is the fingerprint of soil in a given region. What does it contain? Different scientists analyze it differently. This is one of them. A more detailed analysis would reveal the following. The topmost portion of the horizon contains slightly decomposed organic litter. Then comes decomposed organic matter. This is followed by mineral horizon containing substantial humus, dark in color. The next is sand and silt particles, less humus and lighter in color. Then comes the layer of accumulated clay and development of bulky structure. Unconsolidated earth material is in the next layer. The last layer is consolidated earth material or rock. The scientific discipline concerned with all aspects of soil is called pedology. Scientists have classified soils into about 30 different types. 12 of the most important ones, according to soil taxonomy, are these. Let us examine the characteristics of a few of these. Aridisol, it is a middle-aged desert soil, low in organic matter. Mollisol is middle-aged to young, very fertile, dark brown in color. Alphisol, middle-aged, relatively fertile, medium brown soil. Ultisol, very old, nutrient poor, yellow to red. If we divide the landmass of India into its soil types, we find 6 major types of soil. They are alluvial soil found in the deltaic region, red to yellow soil found in the Western Ghats, black soil found in the Malwa Plateau, the desert soils of Rajasthan, the saline soils of coastal areas and the mountain soils of the Himalayan region. A desirable surface soil in good condition for plant growth contains approximately 50% solid material and 50% open or pore space. The solid part consists of different minerals and about 5% of organic material. Under ideal or near ideal moisture conditions for growing plants, soil pore spaces contain about 25% air and 25% water. Soil can be categorized according to the size of the grains. If the grain size of soil is less than 0.002 millimeters, it is known as clay. Clay, therefore, packs very tight. As we can see, water penetration in clay is very little, and so is air circulation. This is not a good soil for many plants. When the grain size is between 0.002 and 0.05 millimeters, it is called silt. The grain size of silt is slightly larger than clay. That means silt packs less tightly than clay. The water penetration is more than clay. This is a good soil type for many plants. Sand has the largest particle size. Therefore, water penetrates much more than all the rest. But the relatively low water holding capacity and the large amount of air present in sandy soil permit them to warm up faster than fine textured soil. Therefore, sandy soil needs to be irrigated more often than soils with fine grains. But it is easier to till the sandy soil. They are well suited for plantation of vegetables, landscape plants, and many types of fruits. Normally, soil is a mixture of all three: clay, sand, and silt. It is the proportion of these that accounts for the difference in soils. A soil with characteristics that are in between sand and silt is called loam. This is the ideal soil for most plants. By addition of organic matter, most soils can be made into loam over a period of time. An important concept in the study of soils is porosity. The space in between soil grains is known as soil porosity. Porosity of soil is important for water penetration and air circulation. The larger the grain, the greater is the porosity. As we had seen, clay is the least porous of soils, while sand is the most porous. This is because the grain size of sand is much larger than clay. It is important to determine the porosity of a given soil because it measures the water penetration and air circulation of the soil. Soil is the main reservoir of water. It is water that dissolves nutrients and enables plants to absorb them. When a plant runs its roots in the ground, we should understand that it is going in search of food and water. This is largely determined by the porosity of the soil. Soil drainage is defined as the rate and extent of water movement in the soil, including movement across the surface as well as downward through the soil. Slope is a very important factor in soil drainage. Other factors include texture, structure, and physical condition of surface and subsoil layers. Soil drainage is indicated by soil color. Clear, bright colors indicate well-drained soils. Mixed, drab, and dominantly gray colors indicate poor drainage. Low-lying areas within the landscape receive runoff water. Frequently, the water from these areas must escape by lateral movement through the soil or by evaporation from the surface. The larger the porosity, the greater is the drainage. Normally, 30 to 50% porosity is required for proper drainage. This is very important for the health of the plants. Too much or too little water in the soil is equally undesirable. With too much water, most plant roots will suffocate due to a lack of oxygen. Where there is too little water, plants will wilt and eventually die. The most desirable soil moisture situation is one in which approximately 1/2 of the pore space of the soil is occupied by water. Just as we have preferences for food, plants have their preferences for soil. One of the determinants of the soil is its pH. In the word pH, P stands for the German word potens, which means power. H stands for hydrogen. So pH is a figure which expresses how acidic or alkaline a substance is. 7 is neutral. Lower values mean that the substance is more acidic, and higher values mean that it is more alkaline. Adding sulfur and organic compost reduces the alkalinity of the soil. The acidity of a soil can be reduced by adding lime to it. A chemical analysis reveals that this soil contains many elements such as potassium, sodium, calcium, silica, aluminium, manganese and iron in different forms and quantities. The group of aluminosilicate minerals is called feldspar. Feldspars make up more than 50% of the Earth's crust. This is the inorganic part of the soil. The organic part is contributed by plants and living organisms. The thousands of tons of leaves that plants shed each year contribute to the organic part of the soil. In most soils, grasses grow very freely. We consider them as weeds, but they are the main source of organic matter in soil. Some plants are known to run roots for several kilometers in the soil in search of food and water. When the plants die, these roots contribute to the organic matter in the soil. But that is not all. This soil contains a world of living organisms. If one takes a closer look at this otherwise dead soil, one can see that it pulsates with life. From microbes to small mammals, rats and rodents vie with each other for food, water, oxygen, and shelter. In the great drama of life acted out beneath our feet, there are winners and losers, killers and victims. In this drama, among other players, the ants and the earthworms play a great role. Huge colonies of ants live and move in the soil, aerating and enriching it in the process. Aristotle had called earthworms the intestines of the earth. Earthworms refine the soil by processing it through their gut. These worms become food for other animals. Then their castings enrich the soil. The artist's rendering of a cross-section of a plot of earth reveals life within the soil. Here the drama unfolds at different layers, visible and invisible. Let us examine the visible layer. The shrew has caught a beetle that perhaps came to hide itself. The ground squirrel has found a home, but soon it will be off for food. There are others. This presence of hundreds of tiny, small and not so small animals and insects help mix the soil as they tunnel in all directions. Take a closer look, and we find another world within this world. Here, nematodes, mites and other organisms live on the threshold of visibility. Fungi prey on nematodes with their tiny tendrils, while a mite is busy looking for its food. That is not all. There is yet another world within this, the world of the bacteria, which is the industry that is responsible for decomposition soil. There are others who can give us diseases like tetanus, and yet others who can cure us by streptomycin and penicillin. So it is a big world made up of all kinds of organisms surviving on one another, and in the process making the soil rich for plants to grow. This paddy, the staple food for more than 70% of the people of the world, would not grow without soil. If plants grow, other animals, including human beings too, can survive. Though soilless cultivation is possible with respect to some plants, most plants need soil. Hence, soil is the basis of life on earth. Though soil is considered dead dirt, it is throbbing with life, and a healthy soil is the foundation of the prosperity of any country. Unfortunately, due to human activities, soils in many parts of the world cannot support plants that farmers want to grow. Therefore, such soils have to be augmented for growth of plants. Adding more and more chemicals is one way of doing it. But the soil then becomes weak and cannot sustain itself. Therefore, scientists and farmers have found a good remedy in biofertilizers. In this program, we have learned the definition of soil. It was defined as the biologically porous medium that has developed in the uppermost surface of the earth. We have seen that wind and water are the soil factories. They produce a variety of soils depending on the geologic and climatic condition of the region. We analyzed soil and found that all soils can be classified as clay, sand and silt, depending on the size of their grains. But most soils are a mixture of all three. It is the proportion that differentiates one type of soil from another. We studied three important concepts with respect to soil. They are porosity, which is the space between soil grains; drainage, which defines the rate and extent of water movement within the soil, both lateral and downward; pH of the soil indicates whether it is acid or alkaline. 7 is neutral. We have also seen the chemical components of the soil. We took a cross-section of the soil and looked at the drama that goes on at the visible and at the invisible layers of the soil. We also examined the various players and their roles in this drama. We concluded by saying that soil is an essential commodity for life on earth. In our next program, we shall deal with the preparation of biofertilizers to make the soil suitable